All right, welcome to the program, everybody. It's that time again for the Political Pulpit. It's that Night Owl broadcast episode. We're going to get into all the good things that we promised. But I think this is going to be the last time that we're going to talk about this because I'm a little bit over this saga and over the distraction. So we're going to give it one last go between this whole Candace Owens, Erika Kirk, and of course the beloved Charlie Kirk. One last time. We'll get right into it when we come right back.
We pray for love and unity, and that the church would find new zeal and commitment to the mission and purpose of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
You're alive! You're alive!
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart.
As you see, the headline says that Candace Owens has changed her tune. And before we get any further, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm your host, Josh Navarrete, and I want to welcome you to the program. This is our Night Owl broadcast because we're on late. You guys are probably doom scrolling and ran into this video and you're wondering, how did I get here on this tiny channel? Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you for joining us. Help us out. Join us on the comments. If you hate it, you love it, you like it, whatever it is, let us know where you're watching from. Hit that notification bell, that subscribe button, and that like button. Interact either way, and we'll do our best to respond and get you all a part of what's happening. And of course, you can follow us on Only Source Network. Go to osn.tv, use promo code JOSH for an exclusive 10% off, and you'll get a ton of other content from our Christian perspective. And you also get news in the prophecy news, stuff that's going on in the world according to biblical principles, and biblical prophecy too. Who doesn't want to know what the Bible says about what's happening today? All right, so let's get into it because we don't have a lot of time, and I don't want to lose you all to your doom scroll and falling asleep. But anyways, welcome back to the program. So Candace Owens finally meets with Erika Kirk. Now, let's rewind a little bit because if y'all remember, there was that time where Candace said, you say when and I'll go, or you say where and I'll be there. And then they said when and where, and it was like, well, y'all should have just told me first because now I can't make it. Whatever, it was what it was. But what ended up happening was that Erika Kirk, Candace Owens, had a meeting yesterday, and she was able to make it, and it looks like her husband was able to be there too. So we wanted to know all that was going on, just like you and I were anxiously waiting. I kind of stopped watching and tuning in because honestly, it's a lot of back and forth, and it's really dividing. It's sad to see the right side of things being so divided. I mean, there's several different versions of the conservative party now. There are those that have their opinions about Israel and Zionism, and they have their opinions about all those things and our allies. And then you have the MAGA Republicans who are absolutely in love with everything that the president's doing, regardless of what's not or what is happening, which we're going to get into that too. And then you have everybody in between, I guess, that's like, not doing or saying anything. They're just watching the world fall apart pretty much. And it's, I know she says in particular, Candace Owens doesn't care about the midterms, but I particularly care about the midterms. Why? Because we fought so hard for what we have now. So I am very, very concerned and very, very intrigued on what happens. And it just feels like we're so divided on this side of things. And it just reminds me of 2020 all over again. And there was many of us that were fighting to reelect President Donald Trump, but just the camp could not get it together and people couldn't unite. One thing's for sure, the left unites on a lot of different things, and they scream the loudest. They are, they've gotten violent recently, but they're kind of all in on it, and they get the job done when we fall apart. And that's what I'm worried about. I mean, this is like, part of the things that we're going to talk about is Where are the deep state arrests? Where's the takedown of the deep state people that, like James Comey, he's probably going to get away with it. He's probably going to walk away. J6, all that whole nonsense that happened, those that were involved in setting people up. We still got people that are arrested or on trial, all the things that happened on J6. There should be accountability. We're probably not going to see any accountability at all. Well, I hope I'm wrong, but what is truly the big distractions here? And that's kind of why I'm like, I just wonder why do people get so invested in what Candace Owens is saying about Erika Kirk and Turning Point? It's like hot off the press, so we're going to get into it a little bit. I'm a little bit frustrated about it, and I hate that we're talking about it in this manner, but I promise you, for me, I think I'm done because there was a pastor, Bishop Kevin Wallace, as a matter of fact, he posted that, pastors and people of faith that are spending time on this saga of two women fighting after the death of Charlie Kirk, is we shouldn't be wasting our time. And you know what? I felt a little bit convicted over it. So I'm going to chill out and let it go. All right. But we're going to go ahead and get into the beginning of this. And I think this goes to show you that a few episodes ago, I was like, I wonder if they're all in on this. If you get them all in the room and they all hang out and talk and have a good time. There was a Christian comedian that just mentioned this, that he was at Tucker Carlson's Christmas party and they were all together. Now, she mentioned that today and said that she didn't know that Turning Point was there. But I've been in some of the rooms, not that room, of course, and you see people, especially in DC, from both sides hanging out and having a good time, and then they go on the house floor and shout at each other. That just seems how things go. And anyways, it's frustrating and it's hard to not feel like you're getting dragged along in all of this, right? I mean, it's a little bit crazy. Okay, let's get into it. So Candace Owens, Erika Kirk, they finally meet, no cameras, no interview. There are mediators, which I think is smart. And Candace says she gets to ask all the questions that she wants to ask. Now, she does come back a little bit softened, I say, on her opinions on everything. Rightfully so. You get in the room and you have see what seemed like good dialogue and good, hopefully, some clarity in the matter. But look what's happening to Candace Owens, and she said this on the episode. People are her own folks, and there's a small percentage of it, but the comment section was blowing up at a particular timestamp here, where they were going in on Candace, saying she took the call, she sold out. This is my last episode. I'm telling you, people that they just get so bought in and get so blind over these things and so distracted. They go so hard, especially on conspiracies. I had a contractor at my studio not too long ago, and he was so bought in on some of these conspiracies. He was even going down the path that believing that Charlie Kirk was still alive. And that's how crazy this stuff gets. And that's exactly what this craziness does to the human mind, especially in the modern world of information, and especially with information just flying at you in an instant. People consume it, and it turns into speculation, into conspiracy, into all these crazy ideas. We want the answers, and we'll buy into anything that we think is close to a ridiculous answer. And it almost makes you feel like you got a bit of information that nobody else has, and you double down. And that's what's happening to the Candace cult, we'll call it, and not everybody's like that, right? But there are people that are just so bought in, they even think Erika Kirk is part of it. I mean, the stuff that goes out is terrible. The smears that go out over this widow, this person that lost, this young lady that lost her husband, the father to her children, and is having to carry the weight of this giant organization and his legacy. People are not holding back. The internet is a crazy world. And I always say this, X, formerly known as Twitter, is a crazy place. That is a crazy place. Okay. So one of the things that stood out to me instantly, right away, notice how Candace Owens is already mocking Shabbat Shalom. That to me is like, you leave wherever they met. I actually don't even know where they met. And you know that's important to Charlie, but then you mock him, and I just think that's crazy. I think there's just something weird about that, where you go and you trust each other to have a meeting and you start your show with millions of people tuning in. She's got on YouTube alone, she's got 5.6 million subscribers. And on that video alone, she got 2.2 million views. It was streamed 5 hours ago. So you're basically, and I get it. Some people just don't have filters. That's just how it is. Some people just, they don't have filters. And we know that President Donald Trump is pretty similar to that. Just doesn't have that filter. But let's just show you what I'm talking about right out the gate. Her intro and playing a Jewish song of some sort and mocking by saying the things she says. So take a look.
Hey everybody, Shabbat Shalom. I just want to say Shabbat Shalom to everybody back at home. Happy Hanukkah to our greatest friends and allies. And, this is a good time to mention that Israel does have a right to defend itself. Tucker Carlson is Adolf Hitler. And TikTok does need to be purchased by the Mossad. It's just how I'm feeling today. I am not different. Maybe you are different. Welcome back to Candace.
All right, so she does that, and then her intro music is this, which is crazy.
Okay, you guys are crazy. You guys are absolutely crazy. The amount of people who attacked me for sending out a tweet being like, hey, I'm good, I'm alive. We had a very productive conversation. And they were like, she got the call. She got the call. She's betrayed us. She's doing something else. I can't believe it. This has all just been a show. Calm down, okay? What do you think happened? Well, Erika said, stop. And then I was frozen for 4.5.
All right. And the other thing that also stood out to me in this is that when she refers to Erika, there's like no endearment. You could tell that she is very, very cautious. And there might even be some bad blood because she doesn't talk about Erika in a kind way, not in a bad way, but she doesn't go out of her way to talk about, she's a strong woman. She's enduring a lot. I have a lot of respect for her, unless I missed it, because I don't think I did. And I don't think I've heard it, especially in this episode. That's the stuff that's really, really disheartening to me. And I just feel like, there's a pastor in Turning Point, John Amachuku, who, he was preaching a sermon, or he was at a Turning Point event and calling this demonic. What I think, and he would double down on this too, because I've actually heard him in latest episodes, is the demonic part is the disruption, the negativity, the attacks. That's the demonic part. Because if you really think about it, the division that's happening within the party, when we've worked so hard to bring more biblical values to the table, more Christian values to the Republican Party, and then it's like you got the church fighting with each other. You got the Catholics fighting with evangelicals in the sense of Charlie or Erika and Candace, because it's crazy to watch somebody with so many followers that could do so much good for the party, so much good for the midterms. Hold this administration accountable in a different way, but she literally spends every episode on this whole thing with finding these Egyptian planes and finding out who in Turning Point is involved with selling Charlie Kirk out. And, it baffles me. It baffles me, especially in the season that we're in, especially in the year that we're coming in. We're about to talk about 2026, because I truly believe 2026 is going to be a year to remember. It's going to be crazy. We were saying that about 25, and it did not disappoint. And let's not forget the fact that she had just got done talking. She tweeted out, and I don't have it up, but you guys can look for it yourself. It's still on Twitter, where they were talking about there's a 9/11 style attack coming in the first 2 weeks of December. Well, she either really knew something and had tips And who's to say, like, I don't know who told her this, because in Bondi, Australia, there was the two shooters, father and son, yelling Allahu Akbar and gunning people down at a Jewish celebration at a beach. And how did she know this? That was horrible scenes. You had some brave people that went and took one gun away from one of the assailants, but still got injured. And people lost their lives. People were mauled in front of their families. People went for a celebration where they should feel comfortable and safe, but you have these crazy terroristic people that are demonized, or demons themselves, I should say, and they're out there killing people. Like, what? How did she know this? And I'm not even blaming Candace for this. The point is that this stuff is going on and we're distracted with this stuff. We're distracted. We're so distracted with the terrible tragedies of, that what's happened to Charlie, but not even memorializing him, not even carrying his legacy, but trying to find somebody in Turning Point and trying to take Turning Point down. I just think it's a bad move, and I'm over it. I'm totally over this. I'm doing this one last time. I was in turmoil about this show today because I'm like, do I even want to go there? But it's hot off the press. When you go into Twitter, I'll show you guys my dashboard. It's all over the place, and I think we want to cover some of the stuff. MCK7042 says she should just get over the fact that Charlie Kirk married the woman he truly loved, and it wasn't her. That's a good point. It almost seems like she's a woman scorned. It almost seems like there was something about Charlie that she maybe adored and loved and was obsessed. I mean, there's people calling out, where's her husband? Because, man, to talk about Charlie this way over and over, and then to attack his widow, and she didn't she just said that these people signed off on his murder. She has to own that. But as you go through this episode, she kind of walks it back a little bit. And you got to appreciate the change, because I want to say that there was a softening of her heart that happened in the meeting. I hope to God she can go around and chase these Egyptian planes. Go chase them. Go have fun. Chase the planes. But, leave his widow alone. Leave his legacy alone. Why attack everything he's built, the people that he surrounded himself with? Are there bad apples? I'm sure there are. There are certain people in every organization that probably need to be checked, audited, watched, whatever. It happens. Now, many of you that watch shows like this probably have their own organizations or their own businesses, and you know that not every personnel that you've hired has been a hit, has been a good one. Sometimes there are bad apples. But to say that, his closest friends, and she went after Mikey McCoy for a while, and then insinuated that some of these people had to sign off on his murder. Now, she was right in the sense that Charlie did say that he was texting people. He was texting people. And she talks about that in a little bit. She says that even Erika walked that back a little bit, but that's because he was also communicating via Signal, which a lot of us do that. There's a lot of accounts that we have is on Signal or WhatsApp because Signal specifically is encrypted. All right, let us know where you guys are watching from, and let us know what you think, what I'm saying. If you have facts that I'm off on, shoot, call me out. I'd love to check on it. I'm just really giving my comments on this just for tonight, and we're moving on. But let's get into this section with Candace's sit down, Erika.
Very quickly, what happens is Andrew Colvett whips up this tweet about what happened with the bullet, and he said he wanted to address all of the discussion that was being had about the online chatter. I'm obviously paraphrasing here. He says, "I apologize, it's going to get graphic," but he spoke with the surgeon. The bullet should have gone through. The surgeon then explained that what he's typically seen on these wounds, and basically this was all a miracle. Charlie saved lives, even in death. And the internet clocked it, this miracle, the healthy bone. His bone was so healthy, and the density was so impressive. This is a quote, by the way. His bone was so healthy. I want to read it. This is allegedly from a surgeon. Quote, "His bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive that he's like the man of steel. It should have gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too. And we were just like, that kind of was like the beginning of the WTF.
And I get it because it does sound crazy. Like, honestly, if you ever saw it, 30-06, any caliber that's greater, the shockwave alone of those bullets. I mean, when we're in ranges, sometimes you're in close quarters, the shockwave just from the weapon, and you could be in your station and you're feeling the boom. And then if you see where bullets land, you see ballistics, or if you're in the military, if you have any experience with weapons like that, it was totally crazy that bullet didn't do more damage. And it looked like an exit wound, didn't even look like an entry wound. But, I get why there's questions on this and why it raises flags. I totally understand. But then to discount the miracle. I mean, call me too spiritual, call me too, sappy or whatever, but to discount the miracle. And then we find out later that bullet from the Ryan, I can't remember the last name, the Ryan show. You guys know which one I'm talking about. If not, I'll try to find the clip. But anyways, the security guard that gave his testimony, the bullet actually went into Charlie and traveled down his spine to like C6 or something like that. And that's still a miracle because it, somehow it did a downturn. But you got to remember, there's an elevation, there's some drop off, and bullets get misdirected or whatever when they hit objects. That's not a shocker. But the miracle part, that I just can't stand the attacks on belief. I mean, especially when he's really trying to say the surgeon said it was a miracle. That stuff bothers me. But then at the same time, I know what she's saying. She's like, well, wait a minute. That's weird. Let's ask some more questions. I get that. That makes sense to me. Ask questions. But, she's a little bit unfiltered and has a way about her. Let's just say that. Let's keep going.
Right. I feel like that was kind of the beginning of it. And immediately people in the comments responded to Andrew, and he said, this individual said, this post is so fake as it would violate HIPAA. Like, there's patient privacy. You can't just call up the surgeon. And then Andrew Colbert replies and says, rest assured, I would not have posted without full permission. Now, he said he spoke to the surgeon, and they confirmed that Andrew spoke to the surgeon, but that they did not know that he was going to write that tweet. They did not know that he called up the surgeon. So it very much came across to me like Andrew was just flying by the seat of his pants. I don't know. Like, he was just flying dark on it. And I was like, that seems very strange to me, because why would a surgeon do that? Like, the first thing the surgeon should say is, I can't speak to you. I don't even know, in theory, Andrew wasn't even there when Charlie died. I don't even know why the surgeon even knows this guy, actually. Maybe he hung around after, but, Andrew was not one of the people that got into the hospital or anything like that. So this is.
Yeah, I mean, good point. Why would a surgeon do that? But at the same time, it's a different scenario. Maybe he shouldn't have done that. All right, so let's get to the Mikey McCoy thing. That one really bothered me when she was attacking Mikey McCoy. Now, to Candace's credit, she did say this was a little bit off. Timing seemed way off. Well, she got clarity on that, and timing was way off. As a matter of fact, she got a timeline because she got to see Mikey McCoy's call log. Just so happens he was on the phone, but with his wife. Then he three-wayed other people, his dad and Erika, and it wasn't what was told to the public. So what do you say about that? At least there is some clarity. I guess you can thank Candace for bringing in clarity on that. But okay, it doesn't bring Charlie back, but it also doesn't make Mikey McCoy, guilty of signing off on his murder. It's just like, what's important these days? But anyways, let's get into it.
This is what the first thing you do is, well, he didn't do that. Actually, the first person he called was his wife. He called Elizabeth McCoy. And then he stayed on the phone with his wife for 10 minutes. And during those 10 minutes, he three-wayed Erika 3 minutes after the shot went off. And then he three-ways his father. And then he three-ways a third person who I am not interested in mentioning because it's not relevant. this is Danny McCoy, by the way, is his brother that's in the military, but that's before the shot goes off. Charlie Kirk shot goes off. You know, I have that in detail. Charlie's brought to security. Mikey McCoy calls his wife. They will stay on the phone for 10 minutes. Okay. In that same minute, because we know this.
All right. So within 3 minutes, Erika gets the call from a young, what is he, 22, between 20 and 23 years old, personal assistant, administrative assistant, whatever he is. Why is this such a big deal? Like, why does this make people go crazy? That is the stuff that I don't understand. I don't understand why this is such a distraction. I mean, she's even gone to the extent of creating a call log. I guess people just consume this and they want to know every detail. When, you know, I think I heard Erika Kirk say sometimes it's just that simple of somebody pulling off a terrible act against a human being. And that's not her words. Obviously, it's my paraphrase. But that's the part where I'm like, okay, well, it was Blake Neff that gave this account and he was wrong. And this is what she's calling out. She's calling out Blake Neff's mishap and miscalculation. And, you know, for people like Candace, I guess it's super important. And she calls you a liar for saying the story wrong.
This because Blake Neff has given us his call log to his mother. Blake Neff called his mom. His call with his mother lasted 45 seconds. So we're assuming it went to 12:25. It very well could have stayed in 12:24, depending on the millisecond. Blake Neff ends that phone call with his mother. Mikey McCoy, after the phone call with his mother ends, adds Erika to the phone. Okay, so that when he was recapping and he's like, oh, his lips quivering and he's like, I got to call Erika. And he's like, and then I called my mom. That's not right. That's just not right. Okay, Mikey called Erika after Blake Neff ended that phone call with his mother. If call logs are to be believed above, you know, human.
The way it's phrased, her curiosity, this is what drives people to like accuse Charlie's hires for signing off on his murder. That's the super frustrating thing. And that's what makes me go crazy. Oh, but by the way, have you guys noticed that some of these like influencers are going nuts? They're very angry. Either they're stressed or, I mean, you got someone, she talks about this. We're going to scrub to it in a little bit. But she talks about how, man, and I can't remember his name. Anyways, my point is a lot of these guys are like losing it. They're very angry. And then, of course, there are some that are under stress because they're being threatened. Like tensions are high across the board. You have tensions within now like you have this whole story on Susie Wiles where I think it's New York Times decides to run this whole thing on her saying that she's talking about the president, talking about the staff, just changing the way she gave the interview. They spent several days with her. They're trying to pin her against everybody else. And then you got people like Benny Johnson, who's been, there's life-threatening threats against his family and his kids. Oh, Tim Pool's a guy. Tim Pool's freaking out saying that Candace Owens doesn't even have security. And then he starts saying, oh, she does have security and it's the same security that Turning Point uses. And now Candace is saying, I've never used. What a mess, guys. What a mess. Here's that part that it goes on and on. This is why I'm going to leave it alone after a while because it's really annoying. It's just distracts us from what's really going on.
She doesn't deal with the we have to deal with. She's a piece of
She has security, just not on the level of you.
Oh, yeah, the one fat guy you mentioned with no wall and no barrier in a suburban neighborhood with neighbors. She doesn't give two No one's out for her. She's lying about all of this. You told me you went to her house and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy. And she doesn't give a about her security.
So that was like Tim last Monday. This is Tim who said I had no security except for one fat guy, which I told you was not true. Now he's saying this. Take a listen.
Okay, I'll say things that I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to say, 'cause I always get super heated on this. Candace Owens has the same security team as Turning Point and Charlie Kirk did. She's lying. She has the same security people. I've been digging into this. I've been meeting with people and talking with them. And
She's
I shouldn't
lying.
say too much because there's more that's going to be coming out soon. Because rest assured, people are filing legal paperwork against her. Candace has the same security team or has used the same security companies and the same security personnel as Charlie and Erika did. So when she comes out and is questioned.
Okay. This is like the drama that I can't stand. I got to get off this. It's driving me nuts. Okay. So mark my words for those that see this. This is going to destroy everything we've all fought for. If this carries into 2026, and let's just be honest, some of these deep state, arrests that we were all hoping for, if they don't ever happen, if people don't get taken down like they should have, this whole Epstein file thing has not even been cleared up. The Democrats tried to unleash and unload a bunch of photos and then tried to tie the president to it. Come to find out, it had nothing to do with the files. All of this stuff is going to bring a ton of anxiety on the common voter, and they're probably just not going to show up because they are losing trust in the Republican Party, the conservative movement, and even MAGA. MAGA is going to be MAGA. You're going to have many of those that are just, they're not going to back down. They're not going to, they'll double down. But now you have this other movement, the Candace Owens movement, now even the Nick Fuentes movement, this Tim Pool guy. They're all just swirling around each other, causing so much chaos and so much division, and still going to the same parties, by the way, and hanging out together. But what matters is the voters. And when the voters don't show up to the polls, and churches and pastors and the religious community start seeing all this, they're gonna back up and they're gonna say, you know what? This is why we don't get involved. The fact that I'm covering this and it's on my feeds right now probably makes me look bad, but it's what's hot off the press. I said this earlier. And I feel like it needs to be addressed in the fact that you can't lose sight on what our ultimate goals are. And it is right now, we have to protect the innocent, the unborn. Thank God that Candace hasn't changed her mind on some of the things that we all believe. That for sure. Okay. She even promotes this unborn, or I can't remember, it's like right to life or something. She promotes those things, and thank God. And even the guys at the wellness company, which we all love. I wish they'd be a sponsor one day. We love the guys at the wellness company. Anyway, those things are important. We still haven't seen breakthroughs like we were hoping in the CDC and the FDA, all that Robert Kennedy Jr. is going to be fighting for. Some are now calling for him to resign. You got good old Mike Pence is still poking his head in, saying ridiculous stuff. So you got so many factions of the Republican Party. It's a scary thought. All the things that we united for, 77 million voters that brought in a sweep for President Donald Trump. I would go as far as to say it's going to be a lot less, obviously for the midterms, because it usually is a lot less. But what is 28 going to look like? If J.D. Vance doesn't get a grip on some of these things and make sure he rallies some of these people, if he runs, this could be a disaster in 28. Same thing with Rubio. You have the whole Hispanic community that's all upset. I'm telling you right now, they're all upset because of what what it looks like, what ICE looks like right now. Instead of just going after criminals, it's just a free-for-all. And the media is so good at covering what looks like they're just going after children and women and families and breaking up families. That's what they do. They get together, they find ICE, and ICE goes to makes an arrest, and it's this big old display. And then the Spanish channels specifically go and cover these stories with scary music and children crying. It just starts to just dismantle all the things we fought for. All the things we fought for. So somebody's saying here, Ryan Dallian, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Bongino realized Trump is a con man. Somebody else is saying Blue Wave is coming, could be, and MAGA is a cult of ignorance and hate. All right, well, this is what I mean. Like, you got people on all sides that, by the way, people are even on the Republican side questioning MAGA. You got Nick Fuentes, who he's like cutting right through the Republican Party. Candace Owens saying, I could care less about your midterms. These people have millions of followers. How did President Donald Trump win the election last time around? He went to these people like this. He sat down with Theo Vaughn, and he sat down with these major podcasters and these major shows, and they all did this campaign and gathered millions of people and got them excited. Now they're all fighting and they're all freaking out, yelling crazy obscenities at each other. It's like, you're looking at your kids fight on the way to Disneyland, or they're at Disneyland and they can't get along. And that's no fun. You're at the happiest place on earth. You got everything you want, but you can't get along. And you know what I do? Don't make me turn this car around. That's where we're at. It's like people are sick of it. People are so tired of it. And then to see the tragedy of what happened to Charlie Kirk, because by the way, Charlie Kirk was extremely involved and pivotal to the win of this administration, of the Trump administration. So who's going to step up? Right now, I don't know. Like, it doesn't look like anybody can step up because everybody's pulling each other down. It is absolutely sad to see. And I'm so over this. And I feel guilty even talking about it, because here we are distracted with the same old. And then you got Turning Point. I mean, they're really trying to point the finger at Tyler Robinson, because, by the way, he's admitted several times. He's admitting it in court. But many are going to say, oh, well, it's pre-planned and he's doing that on purpose and blah, 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 blah. Well, let's see what happens with the justice system. Let's see if our court system will do the right thing, in Utah at least, because he is openly talking to his, they got mics or something, they can hear him. He's talking to his lawyer, saying that he thinks about the murder every day. He's got kids, he has a wife. He's really feeling this. My suspicion, I could be completely wrong. You guys can blow me up in the comments and yell at me and tell me how much of a liar I am. But I suspect that they got plenty of footage, because from all the videos we're seeing, there's tons of cameras up there, unless it gets destroyed or deleted or something, but that's not going to happen. That they have plenty of footage of Tyler Robinson easily walking up on that rooftop through stairs that aren't blocked off, marches up there, sits at a perch at the edge of the building, gets his gun together, takes his time, loads it, puts his sights on Charlie, and takes that shot and kills Charlie. And I think they have video of him taking the shot. They have video of him walking up, and they've obviously have video of him getting off the rooftop the way he did, which is, by the way, what is weird is that he jumped instead of going back down the steps, which is, who knows why he would have done that. But here's Candace talking about, she said something interesting. Like, she said that there is some violation of them talking about it the day before their meetup, which you guys tell me what you think, because I thought that was weird. And is she going to use this violation, this violation of ceasefire or whatever, as another ploy for her to go hard at TPUSA? Who knows?
Something else that I want to show you, by the way, I thought we were not supposed to be doing live streams while we were speaking, but Turning Point, I guess, has their daily show, but that I didn't feel like that was communicated to me. It felt like a ceasefire and then it got violated, but they had an interesting conversation on their show yesterday, on the Charlie Kirk show, about this trial, the upcoming trial, about Tyler Robinson. And here is what they had to say. Take a listen.
So this is straight from the charging document. It says Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a, quote, stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. And when you see how easy that rooftop access is, you start to kind of put one and one together, and you realize that Robinson had a plan that he was going to ultimately take advantage of. And he obviously knew how easy it was to get up to that rooftop, which is terrifying.
It really is. And look, one of the other things that's being pushed around for a long time was that, TPUSA, both the local chapter and you guys, didn't advertise this event till a couple days prior to. Now, the insinuation there is that doesn't give Tyler enough time to plan for this. And what we found out with a little bit of, 20, not even 5 minutes of Googling and looking.
Yeah.
Look, you guys had already put out on your website as early as August 27th. So we have at least almost a full 2 weeks prior to this, that not only the time of the event, but the location, the exact location of the UVU courtyard. So when you have over 10 days of planning, and it sounds like that Tyler already was familiar with the campus to begin with, like a lot of the mystery of this starts to go out the window, and it starts to really conform with what is exactly being proposed by the state of Utah and the FBI in the charging documents.
Yeah. And we can attest, Andrew Cipher, who's our head of field, Charlie sometimes throw the events out, 7-10 days in advance. If something opened up in his schedule, he would be able to do these outdoor events, a pretty quick turn. And so those whole, that whole theory kind of goes out the window.
So, unless I am mistaken, and I am not perfect, but I do feel like we worked really hard to see when this location was first revealed. The first time that we found that the courtyard was mentioned, because Charlie's speaking at events, your assumption would be they're inside, right? You have no idea where it is. So it's not like you can see whether you have a shot to the courtyard unless you know Charlie's speaking in the courtyard. The earliest that we found that was on September 2nd. The local media mentioned on KMYU that Charlie was speaking at UVU in the courtyard. Okay.
Who cares? I mean, I get why you care, I guess, but the thing is like, what? Okay, he found out 2 weeks before or days before. He took a weapon and he got on top of a roof and took a shot. Let's go back to the Sean Ryan show. And thank you. Charlie was always outside. So, they're both kind of going back and forth. And he was always outside. There's lots of people now, a lot of these podcasters now are saying that he's kind of always been in danger. As a matter of fact, if you guys go back last year, 2 years ago, Turning Point, Brandon Tatum is actually out of college, and I think it was in California, something like that. I don't want to misspeak, or maybe it was Washington. And they demolished and attacked his tent. They took it down. They took all of his stuff. They marched. They took it over. It even got kind of violent. And I used to think, like, what? How are they just out there when people could easily attack them or take a shot or even get as close as to have a knife and stab somebody? And security was light, in my opinion. It was always a risk. And Charlie was always outside, but he did it because he was on a mission, and he knew that he wanted to have these conversations. You would have freedom. Now he's accused of all kinds of stuff, and he was accused of racism. He was accused of misogyny. He was accused of so much. And you gotta feel like, especially after the text messages that are proven the day before, because on this show with Candace Owens, it's shown or said that yes, he did text 2 or 3 people that he felt that they were going to try to kill him. Now, maybe he was told something. Maybe there was, he got death threats constantly, and I can't imagine what that's like. But the point is, you don't need a lot of time to make a plan, is my point. Thomas Lanham says 8 days is plenty of time to make a plan. It's plenty of time. I mean, you don't need a whole lot of mind power to see that there's stairs. Oh, I can get on there and I can look down at that area, and then you walk there. Imagine getting there early and they're all gathering in that area, right? And then they gather in that area and you're like, well, it's empty. I could just go up on the rooftop. I mean, now here's the other thing. there was communication. And by the way, one of the comments is actually a buddy of mine from years ago. He had commented and he said, I actually disagree with you that the security guards did everything they can. And I started to think, because you get in the emotions of this man who, at his care, he lost Charlie Kirk. But you felt terrible. You felt like, I felt terrible for him. But then when I really think about it, man, everybody should be fired. You need a whole new security detail. You need to start over because you might love these people, but sometimes compassion can get in the way and people can get hurt. And that's exactly what happened. So that's just my opinion. You know, I don't have a security team like that. I don't know what it's like to pay millions of dollars for a security team. So that's not for me to decide, but I'm not going to sit here and make videos about them and tell them that they're this, that, and the other, and that they're responsible, even though they kind of are, for the death of Charlie. If you should have been there the morning of, you guys, if you've been a part of these political events, there's walkthroughs hours before. As a matter of fact, they shut down the place, scan the place, dogs go through, detectors go through, all kinds of stuff happens before the actual event. Well, they didn't even do a walkthrough from what I've been seeing that day. I think if they did, they would have gone to that area that they had noticed there was free access to and to a rooftop. And they probably would have said, we need to park somebody here so that nobody gets on that roof. That's what I would have done. We've had, the vice president at our church, and we had Secret Service and Rangers and everybody on our rooftops, behind fences, behind trash cans, all kinds of stuff, locking down the whole block. Now that's vice president. I understand the difference, but in that world, you know how things go. I don't know how you could, as a security detail, even though they doubled you guys up, not have somebody at every point. And it's a tragic mistake, guys. Totally tragic. But my point tonight is, man, how much longer are you going to go on this rant and rampage against Charlie Kirk and his organization? Well, I feel that Candace is going to just focus on the playing thing, and she's going to lay off on Turning Point. My opinion, guys, I think this is where she starts to turn the corner, and she decides, well, I'm going to go a different route. We're going to take a quick break. I want to tell you guys really quick about this great organization that's launching this year. It's called Wisdom Warriors, and there's not an official launch, but yet it's happening January, I think 24th. And I want you to take a look at this. It's for our wisdom elderly, our elderly who are wise and who are leaving us a legacy. And the idea is that we're building the biggest elderly organization of people of age that are still very important to our world and our well-being, who we are. They raised us, they shaped us, they molded us, and we want to honor them. So take a look at this.
What were we taught? What was one of the very first rules we were taught? Respect your elders. We have heard for several years now, particularly during COVID, that the older people aren't important. We don't need them anymore. I want these young people to hear the stories of what it was like to live in a free country and never lock a door. They need you. They want your prayers. They want your wisdom. They want to hear your stories. So we are starting the biggest elders club ever, and it's called the Wisdom Warriors. God said, Elaine, I want you to tell all of these wonderful elders that they have a gift that they don't even realize anymore. It's time to find your voice, speak up, share your stories, and it's time to stop being quiet.
join us for Wisdom Warriors in January if you're in the area. We have Matt Schlapp and Vanessa Erbabuena, who is a great artist who's been at Mar-a-Lago. She's been at the White House drawing pictures of Jesus and the Lamb of God. I think images such as the one behind, similar to it anyway. And so let's get back into it. All right. Someone says, MWall1296 says, anyone who thinks Robinson killed Kirk is mentally challenged or maniacally stupid. All right, well, what if they have video of it? Or what are we going to say then? That's just my suspicion that when the evidence comes out in court, we will see Tyler Robinson on the roof. That's just what I think. I could be wrong. And you, as what you're saying, is I could be stupid. That's a possibility. I don't think that's the case. But it's one of them things that I think it's probably not as complicated. I think somebody has been liberally, mentally deranged because of media and social media and the antics of the left and all the things that they do. And they're destroying our youth. Even we used to all make fun of Alex Jones when he would talk about what they were doing to the water and changing, like hormones have been completely attacked in young men in America. Testosterone is way down and men are becoming way soft and zesty way too fast. And then you have people that are just like, they got no backbone. They have no backbone and they can't think for themselves. So anyways, I feel like we need to figure out something. This whole thing with the health organization, I mean, we still got to deal with vaccines still. We still got to deal with the research organizations that take millions of dollars and never find a cure for anything. Now, hopefully there are some breakthroughs coming soon, but man, it's been a long time and a whole lot of money. And then of course you got things with the CDC and the FDA, all that need to be dealt with. And it's only year one, right? So, okay, let's get through year two. But man, 2026, I just feel it. I know it. It's going to be a fight, guys. And as long as we continue to fight over Candace and Erika and Turning Point, we're going to be so distracted. Somebody says, Rob Denson Moore 87144, thought on Trump's deranged statement on the Rob Reiner's killing. Man, you went there, didn't you? Okay. Obviously, President Donald Trump has zero filter. And when you go hard against him, man, he doesn't forget. But this is the downfall, I think, with how he can be and insensitive at times. I think honestly, it's a bad look. I'm just going to say it. And I'm coming to you from a Christian pastoral perspective. I know I spent a whole lot of time on drama right now, and I wasn't excited about it. But let's talk a little bit about this. President Donald Trump, on a post, doubles down on his disdain for Rob Reiner and the things that he had said about President Donald Trump in many different interviews. However, the man was tragically killed, him and his wife, by their own son. What a tragedy. To waste precious time and, just like go double down on and saying the terrible things about him. It's not good. It's not a good look. That's all I got to say. And man, I'm praying for our president. We can't act like the crazies on the left. And sometimes I feel like this is what fires conservatives up, especially Christian conservatives that are in the middle of the road. Listen, we're working with some organizations that would love to get involved, and they're Christian organizations, but they take a step back because they feel that the president doesn't best represent, their faith in certain areas. And then when there's comments like this, man, it's such a bad look. I don't particularly enjoy that. And I wish he would refrain a little bit. But listen, President Donald Trump's going to do and say what he's going to say. That's the beauty of America. You can not vote for him, but guess what? 77 million people were tired of what was happening to our country, and they were willing to take the mean tweets and deal with that so we can get better policy. But now here we are again, Year 2, right around the corner. And I remember this happening in the first run with President Donald Trump. You guys got to remember this. The first one with President Donald Trump, lots of promises. You get in the White House, you can't believe you're president, and you realize the difficulties breaking through the red tape, the fluff, the politics in DC. Really, remember, we were all waiting. Remember QAnon? Remember all of these, like, you know, these factions of information that were being leaked, and there was these symbolic things, and we're going to drain the swamp, and we're going to fight human trafficking, and we're going to save all the children, and DC is going to be wiped out, and it's going to be a new way, a new era. And it just, by year 2, we get COVID, right? And already people were starting to feel nervous about the direction of the administration. And it's not because I think President Donald Trump has gone bad. I just think that DC and the elites, and maybe deeper than that, and some will blame other nations, but let's focus on what we have here going on. It's really hard to break through all of the red tape. He can't get anybody confirmed. A lot of his cabinet's appointees aren't being confirmed, and they're being the judges aren't allowing it. So I think the president's a little bit, he's got not caught, but there was a hot mic, and he was saying that they can't get any of his appointees confirmed. So what's going to happen? These Republicans need to, people, if you guys are watching and you're Republican, you need to call your representatives and say, you guys got to get with it. Like, hold the people that you voted in accountable and have them unite. Let these podcasters fight. Let these organizations try to figure it out. But when it's said and done, the midterms do matter. And who and what we vote for, it matters. It matters. There's Republican seats that are going to be opened, and there's special elections happening right now, and new politicians that are flooding they're hoping to get a seat in DC. You got to educate yourself on who these people are and make sure they're right, because we can't have any, look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. She pretends like she wasn't a champion for President Donald Trump for so long. And now she's mad about Israel. Honestly, she got her feelings hurt. And she's probably got some dirt on her that she's worried about. And all of a sudden she's going to disappear because she says it's not healthy for her family. But yet she went years on a rampage, on a campaign for President Donald Trump. She couldn't stop kissing the ring of the president. And then she's doing what? Now what? You leave the opportunity for Democrats to unite and to move in, and now they could possibly take her seat. Now, is it real? I don't really know. I don't know her constituents that well. But you guys know what I mean. All right, so let's get to the comments really quick. All right, the president of the United States, not us. I was disgusted with the libs, now disgusted with Trump. But okay, let's see. JW Proud Dad. There's people that are saying this on, I don't know if you're Republican, Democrat, or who you voted for, but this is what's happening. This is not just one comment. There's a lot of people that are saying things like this. And Big Raylan Dad, okay, and all the liberals did the same to Charlie Kirk. We went there, and rightfully so. It's a really bad look, per usual. Okay, the president of the United States, not us. There's no excuse for that kind of ignorance. It's very politician. We didn't get COVID during year 2. I think what I'm saying about this is that it's not we didn't get COVID. Well, by the way, yeah, stuff was already happening with the development of COVID and that whole process that nobody's getting charged for, by the way. Dr. Fauci, where's he at? He's just going to get away with all this? Where are the people that were a part of that whole, I can't, Rand Paul was going after it for a while. I can't remember what it's called. But by 2019, COVID was here. But you guys know what I mean. It wasn't year 2, but after year 2, we got COVID and everything fell apart. I'm not saying anything crazy. All right, next year's going to suck. Inflation's going up. Job growth is flat. You have no idea how bad it is about to get. Okay, well, we'll see. I'm personally, I don't like the stimulus check. We used to make fun of Biden when we call him Biden bucks. Remember all that? Here we are doing the same thing. That frustrates me. You're going to pump more money into the system. It's just printed money. You're right. Inflation does go up. Unless this whole 50-year plan for mortgages, you know how much bondage that is? You know how much more you pay for your mortgage in a 50-year loan program? That's what our kids are going to sign up for? Absolutely not. Well, many kids are. Young people, they can't buy houses right now. And when they do, they're going to get a 50-year mortgage. That's insanity. What was it, a 10-year? Was it a 10-year or 15-year car loan? It's crazy. That is crazy. 5-time draft dodging chicken. Whoa, I don't know what that is. Sorry. Got some bots in the chats, guys. So I like this. Please don't forget to reach out to those you haven't heard from in a while. The holiday season can be a very difficult time for many people. Remember, you may save a loved one's life by reaching out. I like that's nice. Thank you for saying that. All right. No one during Biden administration was held accountable for anything. You know, that's right. How many remember the auto pen? We got to undo the auto pen. And I think that's happening. Thank goodness. All right. I know it's horrible. 2026 will be great. I hope you're right. Bill V6832. I don't know who you are. Hopefully you're not a bot, but man, I really hope you're right. 2026 better be good. I just get a little bit nervous about how things are going. And then what did Dr. Fauci do? You served many administrations and you did a good job. Dr. Fauci, you think he did a good job? Come on, man. All right. What policy changes are you looking forward to? Policy changes. Okay. Well, let's talk about some of that because 2026 is going to be a wild ride. Well, first of all, we're going to be faced with a funding bill again. What's that going to look like? We got the interest rate issues that we're going to be dealing with. They did go down a little bit, but then I am not a fan of what we called Biden bucks 2 years ago or whatever it was. The stimulus packages that happen usually come with a lot of fluff and they're stacks of pages this high. And you tell the American people, but you're going to get $2,000. So don't look at this stack. Just look at the stack of cash that you're going to get in your bank account. And then everybody looks away and it's like, yes, I got some spending money. That money goes so quick. It's $2,000. Let's be real. I mean, what's the average mortgage payment nowadays? I mean, there's people with car payments that are $1,000, which is craziness. Interest rates are still high. They're still too high. We got a housing problem. We got a housing crisis on our hands because right now there's not enough building. There's not enough manufacturing. And I know the president's doing what he can to bring manufacturing and all that stuff back through tariffs, but we've yet to see if tariffs are really going to work. When we talk about the average American with gas prices and grocery prices, when you say they've gone down compared to what? That's really the problem. Like, what have they really gone down to? This is why my message isn't just about it's not just about like policy. For me, it's not just about policies, although policies determines a lot of what happens in your life. But this is why we got to have the right people in office. And this is all the way down to the state level. You have to make sure that you're voting and you get involved and you talk to your state representatives. You get to know them. You know who's in your district. You know who you're voting for. You don't blindly go. And by the way, your judges are in your area are very important. You should know who your judges are, and they should know that you're going to vote them in or out. I don't know how it is in your district, but mine, we see their names and we can say, do we want them in office or not? We want them back in or not? It's important. It's hard to know everybody, but you should at least do your research. All right. So, there's 2026 in what's also going to make it crazy for me. What I'm thinking is that the right side is totally at odds, completely at odds. Then you have the left side. They're quietly, maybe not so quietly, but they're rallying. Let's be honest. They are rallying. And there are things that they're going to use to continue to sway the American people and the voters. If the Candace Owens, the Tim Pools, the Sean Ryans, all these people, even the what's his name? Patrick Bet David, Joe Rogan's, if they don't get with it again, we're going to see a lot of trouble. And it's already happening. Oh, by the way, you got people like Nick Fuentes that is just cutting he's cutting it with a butter knife right down the middle. And he's crazy. I can't listen to him for too long, much at all. He's crazy. This Nick Fuentes guy. All right, let's do a couple more clips and then we're going to call it a night because it's getting late. So here's the end of her show, and you guys tell me, did she really change her tune, or is she just kind of waiting for her opportunity to pounce? You guys let me know.
That's a weird camera angle. They do look charred in the photos that he showed. Tell you that his hands were not charred when he was buried. And so what you thought that like people were like, oh, this was like makeup and stuff. It was a very compelling theory. It just wasn't so. And I very much trust the person that told me that. But that said, the Baron Coleman, if you have not seen the episode where he builds on what I said about Camp Huachuca, that is worth a watch. He kind of suggests in that episode, which I want to shut down, he suggests that, I think he heavily suggests that it could have been the Veep on that, on the base, Vance on the base. And I did then research, because I was like, oh, wow, is he right? There's actually video of Vance. So it could not have been Vance on the base. Again, I'm getting ahead of ourselves here. We should talk about more of that tomorrow. But that is a very compelling video that he did, which was fantastic work. And I do want to collaborate with him. Maybe we'll do it this week or next week, or next week, Christmas, I guess. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Jenna writes, your true fans had no doubts about you whatsoever. Merry Christmas to you. I was like, are you new?
Pretty much, you guys. Here's the other thing. What drives me crazy about the whole Candace thing is like she always makes you think like something that's huge is going to come out. There's not a lot that she said that was like huge revelations out of the conversation. And I mean, what can she tell you anyway? Because it's a private conversation. She's not going to tell everybody everything. But it's always like this big, you got to tune in, right? And she's got 2 million views on this one. And probably more now. That was an hour ago. By now, it's probably a whole lot more. But my takeaway on this, and this is what I feel like the change is for Candace, she softened up. She's even telling other conspiracy theorists that, he's alluding to, and I don't think it is. Whereas before, she was like, I don't know. If you know, you know. She does a whole thing, and then she's talking about like, we're just asking questions. Ask all your questions. Chase these planes. But us, if you're on the right side of things and you're watching this show, we got to unite. We got to be careful indulging in all of this. Honestly, I feel totally guilty about even doing another episode on this, but we had to get through it. And for me, if you're following the program, this is a conservative program, like it or hate it. I am more concerned about what the Bible says, how to govern my life. And I'm more concerned on how we vote for life, protecting our freedoms, the right to assemble. I want to protect our religious liberties. I want to make sure that nobody can infringe on my rights to preach the gospel, to protect the innocent, and to work hard and get paid and live the American dream. Yes, we need secure borders. We need to make sure that our country stays healthy, and that these chemicals that are not even allowed in other countries are allowed in our food, like stuff like that. All the things that protects people. We need to make sure that we vote the right way. Yes, local elections is important. Get to know your district, people that are running in your district. Candace doesn't care about midterms, but we do. And it's important that you know who you're voting for. It's important to get involved. I'm not going to sit here and act like everybody's going to be perfect, but without you and I, we have a voice. Ask questions, yes, but also stand up for what you believe. And for me and my house, we will serve the Lord, and we want to make sure that God's name be exalted and lifted up. I want to thank everybody for joining us and being a part of the program. If you don't know who we are, check out the YouTube channel, and please subscribe and share with your friends, and we will see you next time. Thank you, and God bless.